Hi, just Paulie here. A few viewers had asked about how my transition is going, so thank you for asking. And there are actually very few records of this sort of thing. So for those who weren't following, so I began social transitioning in 2019, coming out publicly and socially transitioning into my actual gender, female. I had had cancer, very, very life threatening, and at that time I had been told that I could not go onto HRT for fear of reigniting the cancer, getting out of remission. So I did what I could, and I travelled and I lived as best I could in my actual gender. Last year, that is 2024, it suddenly became clear to me that I was being medically gatekept, that I was actually probably perfectly able to go on HRT, but the medical advice I was getting was from people who, to be generous, may not have known much about transgender people. To be a bit snarkier, may have been deliberately gatekeeping because, they just can't see why anyone would do this. So I pushed and got other advice, and they said I had been clear of cancer for a long time. I could absolutely go onto HRT. Going onto HRT was a huge rigmarole, I have to say. I had to go and see psychologists and so forth to get letters to allow me to go on HRT, which is ridiculous because I'd already been living for years as a woman. But finally, at the end of last October, I got onto HRT right before I went over to India. So I was going through physical changes and so on while in India. So it has been going extraordinarily well. Lots of physical changes, lots of mental and emotional changes. So, I I have the complexion of a 12-year-old girl. Difficult to achieve, I have to say, in Perth, Australia, which is land of UV and zero ozone layer. I wander around when I'm in the tropics under a parasol, and I have one hell of a moisturising routine. But yes, I do look amazingly youthful, and HRT has been a huge factor in that. It's not supposed to do that much, but my voice actually has been changing. I'm wanting to do some singing training again, but I'm just waiting for it to settle. So other surprising things that you often aren't told about. I dropped height. I'm about an inch shorter than I was before I began because pelvic tilt has been coming in as waist and pelvic muscles change. So I've dropped a little bit of height, of all things. I'm a dancer, as you know, and this has been interesting because a lot of my muscles come under a lot more stress in strange ways than many people's. This actually caused some strange aches and pains in some muscles kind of at the point of my hips and thighs. And it turns out, essentially, muscles long trained by dance and martial arts were taking strains in different ways now because of that change in tilt. So I've had to do a lot of exercises to strengthen those muscles. This might not be a factor for many people during transition, but since I dance pretty energetically on stage, jumps and barrel rolls and this sort of thing, it was definitely a factor. I also used to have hypertension, which is high blood pressure. I was on a lot of blood pressure medications. It's a familial thing which happened to all of the people born male in my family. It seems to be tied to testosterone. As part of your hormone replacement therapy, you take essentially two things. You take an estrogen, which gives your body the female hormones that your body does not create, and you take an anti-androgen, which suppresses the male hormones that your body is currently naturally making. The moment my testosterone level dropped, my blood pressure dropped. But since I was taking things designed to make my blood pressure drop even further, I ended up with very low blood pressure. Lord, I've had fainting spells, which is a little bit more Jane Austen than I was intending. So, we are massaging and mucking around with this. So there are some strange little health zigzags that you have to look out for. The boobs are enormously good fun. They are the joy of my life. I could put an eye out with these things at 100 yards. I dance burlesque, which means that, the girls have been out on stage a few times, and that's been really fun. There's a bit of a fight, weirdly enough, to combat weight gain because long ago I was a very, very unhappy 140 kilo man, and I've ended up as a very, very happy 88 kilo woman, but the HRT change did seem to kind of change the way my metabolism worked, so I've had to make sure I don't kind of stack on weight with that. But on the other hand, I kind of also have to, because the fat in my body will redistribute. It'll go to my ass and my thighs and my hips and so on, and to the breasts, and disappear from places like the belly. So and that is a process that will keep going for the first couple of years on this thing. I notice that I used to have to, when I was just socially transitioned, I would do laser therapy and so on to remove things like facial hair and body hair and so on. Those hairs, such as they are way, way finer, and have in many cases virtually disappeared. So, in interesting times, emotionally, I cry more readily. Something that's actually, I've always been a deeply empathic person. I'll cry for people now. You will notice in some of the videos that I do, if something's particularly tragic or whatever, I can shed a tear for them. It really hits me personally quite hard. There's been some mental rewiring. And that is very hard to explain. My mental processes were always technically in sort of the female rather than male bounds, which is why I'm studying trans. But there has been a lot of mental hiccups. The other thing, unfortunately, I have to say, HRT did was it brushed away a series of kind of friends that were vaguely hanging on, old friends from pre-social transition days. I lost virtually every friend I ever had the moment I came out. But of those, some of the ones who were kind of borderline grognards and so on, the last of those vanished. So, whatever. I have to work on getting more friends, which can be very difficult because, what can I say? Having friends abandon you like that makes you very wary about making new ones. I had to get my passport redone. AI facial recognition cannot recognize my new face shape as my old face shape. So yes, my face has disappeared. And friends that had not seen me in like 6 months, or had not seen me since before HRT days and so forth, were rather astonished at the changes in my face and so on. So I feel more buoyant. I feel lighter on my feet. I feel happier. I feel like a weight's gone off my chest. I smile for no reason. I laugh more readily. There's a lot more life behind my eyes when I take a photo or a selfie. So this has been the best thing I've ever done. These changes will keep on going. I think big milestones will obviously be the 1 year mark and probably the 2 year mark, as we see how things really have physically changed, how my body settles into its new shape. Those will be big times. I don't know what comes next. I don't know what further medical transitioning I will embrace. I kind of feel there's more stuff in the future, but we'll see how this goes. I'm just a poor writer and can't afford much. Romantically, it's been odd, I have to say. You know, a 61-year-old trans woman isn't really on anyone's hit list for their ideal romantic partner, I guess. So we just live with that. I'm very happy. I'm looking forward to travelling again, because travelling with that new passport and travelling sort of new face, new figure is going to be really fun. It's going to be wonderful. I will go back to some very trans positive areas, I think, where I feel welcome. Definitely explore new territory, because I keep trying to find places that are safe for trans people to travel and let you guys know by doing the videos. But yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to traveling as my real self. That will be wonderful. So anyway, for those of you who asked, I just thought I'd fill you in. And like I said, there are very few records, I guess, of all the little bits that people don't really tell you about. So if you are thinking of transitioning or whatever, yeah, there's some little clues and bits and pieces for you. It's the best thing I've ever done, and I'm incredibly happy. Okay, bye.